Obvious with New Method Wellness.
Welcome to Stating the Obvious with Dr. D at New Method Wellness. Today, our guest is the incredibly talented rapper and writer and mental health worker, Jeffrey Walker, who I lovingly refer to as JT. Does anybody still call you that?
Um, just people from a certain era. Yeah.
Uh, did it just give you a flashback?
I, my flashbacks are very, very strong of certain eras. So um, I live in, both dimensions at the same time. So yeah.
Cool. I love that. That's what we're here to talk about. Tell me, Jeff Walker, what are you known for in your particular community? First, just tell me what you do. Like, I know you do a lot of mental health work and you are a mental health worker. I mean, I think last time we talked about this kind of stuff, both of us hadn't even decided for sure to go to graduate school.
Yeah, that's a fact. So I definitely am in mental health. I spent 15 years working down in Long Beach as a mental health counselor for youth ages basically 3 to 15. So I would be in the community, seeing kids at their homes, seeing kids, at schools, wherever you could, in a tough area of Long Beach, also sometimes Compton and even South Los Angeles. But at the same time, I was pursuing, my love, which is writing, rapping, hip hop, spoken word poetry, all that. And so I basically decided to create a bridge between my mental health work and my artistry. Those are my two passions. And so that bridge became rhymecology. So rhymecology over there. Um, what rhymecology is rhymecology helps people express, discover, and recreate their stories through the use of hip hop lyrics and culture. So I am known in my community as a hip hop scholar, as a hip hop historian, a great writer, as a healer, as a one on one coach, as a counselor, all that. But really, all of that all lives under this big tree of rhymecology.
So, like different branches.
Yeah, there's different branches. There are different branches, and that could be books, it could be performances, it could be workshops, it can be coaching, it can be music, it can be running classes, which I now do for a school called Pendulum Inc. I run rhymecology through Pendulum Inc., which is the premier school for hip hop lyricists in the country, actually the world, because we have students all over the world. And so I run the mental health branch of rhymecology at Pendulum Inc. And so basically, you're right. There are all these beautiful branches underneath this tree of rhymecology, which connects hip hop and mental health.
So some people are really passionate about helping others with mental health, and I always like to ask our guests, like, why? What about mental health? Like, for me, I call myself a wounded healer. So I'm curious, like, why are you so passionate about helping people in mental health?
Well, I think that we all have a wounding. I think we all have a scar, and the severity of the scar varies, right? But to us, that scar is as intense with someone who might have just not got the proper acknowledgement from a parent as it is with someone who got molested by a parent. Like
Mm.
our minds, it's as strong, right? And that's the wounding that we all have to work through to become our greatest self, and realize, what, our full potential. So I think that our woundings, even though, oh, well, that's not that bad. Well, to that person, it is. And so for me, I think I'm passionate about, helping people find what that wounding is and then showing how still repeating that wounding, repeating actions that came from that wounding, that came from the mindset that happened after the wounding, that led to the decisions that this cycle that keeps going around and around. But basically, it really started somewhere from like something happened between age 7 and 12 ish, usually, that we need to address, realize, and then do some work to get through it. So that I'm passionate about that, and I love to help people do that. And I now do that through hip hop lyricism.
Wow. What do you think is your favorite thing about the recovery aspect? Like watching people, especially young people that you work through. I always say my favorite days are when a client comes in and says, "Oh, I graduated from college," or "I got a job as a welder," or, like I continue to move forward in my recovery process. And so those are my favorite. Or they say, "I had a child," or, I did something really special. And I'm like, oh wow, that's so cool. And those are the days that make it worth it. What are the days that make, and what are some of the instances?
I think it's the
Like personal instances.
well, for I think when I'm working with someone and I start to I work with the little wins first, the little wins and maybe the little habits, the atomic type habits, and then but you got to say, as someone who works with people, when you see the breakthrough or the realization that you know all what I'm doing today is probably connected to a decision I made, that's connected to a behavior that I started that was connected to a wounding from before, and they kind of and then like it's like the Matrix, when all the pieces kind of come together. And as someone who's trying to help them see that, I think to me that's the biggest win for me as someone who works with them.
Like when they have that aha moment.
The aha moment. Yeah, you can take that whole sentence and you can just put it down into the aha moment. Exactly.
And then what happens after they have that aha moment?
Then, well, then you got then the work's got to continue, because well, first of all, the aha moment is just the realization. Then it gets to the stage where you're like, okay, now we've actually got to handle this aha crap, right? And so that this might be where it gets uncomfortable, because I might have you go into a meditation where you're talking to someone who wounded you, or I might have to go into a meditation where you're going back into your 7-year-old body, and you're getting bigger, and you're gaining the voice and the power that you didn't have. And then
Like experiential, like Gestalt work? Is that something that you studied or you come from that area?
I don't have the I've heard the
That's
name,
okay.
for me, it's just all, it's like kind of in
Yeah.
here anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm a little bit backwards. Like people who knew me in my early 20s, they might have said I was a bit of a old soul at that time, and so I kind of knew a lot of things, but I didn't know them academically, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about it later. But I kind of had an upbringing where I was very metaphysically minded. And so I kind of, I was doing like deep guided meditations as a teenager. So,
Wow.
so, where I was going in as a teenager, talking to like my, 5-year-old self or whatever. So to, for me to, put a philosopher or a psychologist or, someone
Mhm.
on it, I can't do that, because it was kind of more in here and kind of experiential.
Intuitive.
Yeah, intuitive.
I often say that therapy is about art and science, and it's pretty easy. It's easier, I believe, it's easier to learn the science than it is to learn the art of therapy.
Mhm.
And some people are just born with the art, but I have been in classes or in different places with people who don't understand the art and watch them struggle, how much harder it appeared to be for them to learn the art than it was for me to learn the science. Because I'm like you, I started with the intuitive piece of it. And then after years of supervision and education, like it started to marry and work with the educational piece. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And like when, when we're younger, um, you might read something, say,
Hmm.
book by Debbie Ford, or, something like that, and then you're just like, oh, well, that makes perfect sense because that goes with what was already
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
And then you
Hmm.
realize that there's people who's, put up institutions and buildings
Hmm.
to teach
Hmm.
you the science of it, which you already know. Uh,
Hmm.
so it's an interesting thing, kind of the marriage of art and science and healing. Um, but
And the articulation of it, I think, isn't always as easy for some of us as it is. Like I have seen brilliant theorists who could articulate any theory of psychology, but they had a really hard time connecting to that person and really seeing what that person. Did you watch the documentary Stutz?
no, studs like,
Stutz.
oh no, I've
It's a
never.
documentary by Jonah Hill, and it's about his relationship with his therapist, um, Stutz. I think his name's Philip Stutz. But one of the things that Jonah Hill says, my favorite line in the movie, he says, your friends who are idiots and you just want them to listen are always giving you advice. And then your therapist who you really want advice just listens.
Right. and and
It's,
and you, and
yeah,
you don't always listen to, you listen
yeah.
to friends more than your therapist usually.
And so Stutz says, do exactly what I tell you to do, which is very controversial in the world of psychology today. But
Yeah.
he just says, don't do that anymore. Do this, walk around the block, get some sun, write, rap, whatever. And it's very controversial. I really like it though. I think it's such a blend, right?
Yeah. And something you said a second ago resonated because, like, I remember, being at the community mental health job in Long Beach, and I was looking at, I was what was like called a support counselor, and I would support the quote therapist who was supported by the team lead who was supported, and all these people, and I just remember kind of looking around. I'm like, I just don't feel like anyone is connect. Like, I feel like I had a very unique connection because of the way you can communicate. Like you can be conversationally deep. You know what I mean? We can have a deep conversation. We do. We're having a deep conversation, but it's conversational. If I was like, oh well, this person said this, and then let me check my notes, and I don't know. To me, it doesn't vibe. But to me, it doesn't vibe as well, especially with the youth that I was working with. Uh, you
Well,
know,
I work with like addicts, people right out of prison, and if I start like talking about theories with them, it's a waste of their time, it's a waste of my time. But I do incorporate all of the theories that I've worked with into my work when the time is right. But basically, they just want to know that I'm really in the room.
right.
And
Yeah.
I'm really, Freud talked about the third in the room. So it's like I'm the first, the client's the first, I'm the second, and the third is that connection piece.
Mm.
That's actually a living, breathing entity, what we are doing in the room.
And they want to know that you've been through something.
Yes,
especially
yes.
especially at I for 5 years worked in downtown LA at a company that was social habilitation and relapse prevention, and so it was duly diagnosed prison parolees,
Mm.
getting out, and so I was I was running groups and whatnot. Of course, I didn't even have a master's at the time, but like I said before, I the like the realness, the
Mhm.
communication there.
Mhm.
So, I was able to work with them even though I wasn't, the therapist at the time. We would you connect through dominoes, you connect through Tupac, you connect through
Mm.
me, creating a on the spot rhyme about the person, da 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 da. So that's real, just as real as, what's in the textbooks.
Y- Yeah, I don't know which, like either, I don't think either or is more real.
just
but I do appreciate both. And I
100.
do appreciate like everything I've learned since I started out kind of raw and like been able to incorporate it maybe more professionally and most
You're the best of both worlds. That's for sure.
I've had three clients in 25 years that have said I can't work with her. She cusses too much.
Too
She's
real.
not professional enough. And I'm like, okay, let me refer you. But most people have said, I can't, I have to do it this way. I've been to therapy all my life and this way works for me. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've heard that, right?
I have, or just someone I just talked to yesterday had been going to therapy her whole life, and then at the end of our first session, she literally said, "Wow, I never said that to anyone." Um, and then by the end of the second session, she said, "Wow, you put that together in a way that no one ever had before." So, I think, but I'm just saying that because I think that you got the best. You really got the best of both worlds. How the way that you're doing it, and the way that I guess we might do it, might not fit for every person,
Yeah, for
but
sure, for sure.
and then exactly you can
They have a different population. I think that like in your writing, in your rapping, in your spoken word, you have kind of been like learned and been given the gift to step aside and let it flow through you.
it's
I
channel.
th-
Yeah,
I think most people, oftentimes therapists don't know how to do that. Maybe
that
that could be another field for you. You could be training therapists.
well, I to be honest, my first book that I wrote was the rhymecology guide using how to use hip hop to heal, and that book was written for counselors and therapists at trying to like maybe create that bridge for them, saying this is how you can use hip hop in a session, especially in community mental health. So I did kind of try that, and then I did I've done some trainings for people and workshops for qualified mental health professionals and whatnot. um, but I did it, I like where I'm at better now, Deanna, because I'm in a place where everyone's hungry to heal and everyone's hungry to learn. When I was trying to teach and talk to the other therapists and all that stuff, like, so it was like, well, you don't have a PhD, bro. Like, I don't really listen to you. And, you're listening to NWA and they're saying, fuck the police. And I was, well, yeah, but the kids who are listening to it are saying, fuck the situation I'm in.
And what about like freedom of speech? Like, are we not talking about that anymore?
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah, that's my little brother tells everybody that when he was like, I don't know, 12 or something, I turned him on to NWA and I was like, I don't really remember that, but I guess I did. And he said it was his like first dive into freedom of speech and what that meant to him.
Well, that would, I mean, it definitely makes sense. The freedom historically, hip hop has always had an interesting battle with freedom of speech. Around the same time that NWA was being chased down by the FBI for saying "fuck the police," Two Live Crew was under heavy censorship issues, and they basically, even though they're not the most quote talented rappers or whatever, they definitely blazed the trail for people to kind of say what they wanted to on record. And they took it very extreme, but it was freedom of speech. And Tupac also had an issue. Tipper Gore, there's a history of it, but now it's just kind of like freedom of speech is being limited in other arenas, and music and the arts are just like free flow for anybody. It seems like.
Ellen DeGeneres said she thought that rap, maybe 20 years ago, she said she thought that rap was our last avenue of freedom of speech and real creativity that wasn't being censored.
That Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And it'd be nice if we could say what we want online without people saying, well, you can't say this about this party and you can't say this about this medical situation. And like, it'd be nice if rappers still could do that. And they can when they put out their music, but they can't just put out a video saying, I don't agree with this person or this my body or whatever. So it has definitely decreased a lot. Um, but it's something we need to hold dear in hip hop in every facet of our life.
Um, what do you think is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that experience?
Um, you know, when I think about failure, I don't have something that jumps out as a major failure, but I have a few things that jump out as regrets that turned into, something that I learned from. And, for me, I think I had a few opportunities that I didn't really take seriously because I was young in my 20s and people were seeing me perform and giving me their card and hey, we can maybe do this and that. And I kind of was like, well, I'm going to the bar next.
Yeah.
I got to meet up with so and so, and like I didn't take it serious enough. Um, and so I could have gone down a different path, which maybe would have been, as a more mainstream or successful type artist. But of course, everything happens so it lines up so you walk in your correct path. And I might not be here doing this today if that had happened.
And you might not have touched so many people and helped them with their lives.
Yeah, because I might have gotten up, all, all about myself, and I might have been, you know, feeling myself for my success instead of feeling what I feel now, which is like I'm still hungry, like I'm still hungry, like I'm still like making songs, at this young age that I am, and I'm still making these songs. Like, well, I still am looking for that that placement in that movie, right? Like I'm still like really hungry for that. And so because of that, you know what I mean? I've got 50 probably notebooks filled right down here. And I'm able to relate with my, the people at our school at Pendulum Inc. Like, because they all want to be better writers and they
Mm.
also want to heal some of their past, wounds, but they don't want to go to, they don't want to go sit on a leather couch type therapy. Like these are MCs, these are poets, these are rappers, and because of that, I'm able still to connect. And so even though I can't say that my musical career has been a failure, but I think my wish, like I probably could have taken it more seriously as far as some of those opportunities and re reevaluated my reevaluated what was important, because
Yeah.
at that time I, I was it was just I was just seeking passion and pleasure, and I also happen to be a pretty decent writer and this and that, and so I might flip it the other way, but then again, I wouldn't be exactly where I'm at now.
You
And
know, most of the people on this show are on a spiritual journey. And when I ask that question, they almost always say, I don't think of anything as a failure. I think of everything as a growing opportunity.
yeah,
So I think I need to reword that question, but everybody kind of says, I'm grateful for everything that happened in my life. It all happened for a reason.
well, you do, you like attracts like, so you're also bringing, that energy into your vicinity, and you're
Mhm.
attracted to that kind of energy, so it kind of makes sense that people would say that. I'm your clients, they might that question might have a different answer for them.
Tell me more about your book. Like, what inspired you to write this latest book? Just tell us about it and um,
Yeah,
show us your book. I think you have
well,
it.
luckily I got one of them left here because I just sold a bunch of them today. Breaking
Good.
through with um breaking through with bars. Of course, bars is musical,
Hmm.
musical note. For the prison and parolees, it could also be a double entendre. But breaking through with bars, express, discover, and recreate your story through hip hop lyrics. And so, what this book is it's really cool because the workshops and the exercises that I've done with my clients and with my artists, like I'll break down a song, right? Like say, oh, let me just open it up. All right, what page? 53. This song is called uh, 80s Baby. All right, this is a song by Sci-Hi the Prince. And in the song, he raps from the perspective of being inside of his mom's womb, rapping to his mom before he was born.
Wow.
Hey, mom, this is your son buried off in your stomach. I feel the effects of the, I feel the effects of them drinks every time that you vomit. Smoking cigarettes, you said you would stop. You told me, you promised. I heard you arguing with the man. I could tell he didn't want it. So that's like from, listening to what's going around, right? And so it's a letter to his mom, before he was born, who was drinking and smoking while he was in the womb. And so, we break down like a song like that, and then I give them the exercise to do, write in a similar vein, right? We break down
Mm.
the song, we look at the lyrics, we talk about, what different things mean. And then, we do some work, listing things, talking about things, all that stuff. But basically by the end, it's like, all right, now what are you going to write to your mom? What do you, from that same perspective? Things like that, generational cycles. There's a song by Fonte in here, self-worth, thin line between love and hate, all like Master Ace in the Mirror. He's got a song where he says, at times I don't know who I be, and when I look in the mirror, I don't know who I see. Am I even moving at all? Because I swear I can't tell if my life is improving at all. I'm like, man, that, like when I heard that song, I was in that stage of like, I'm not sure if I could make it as an artist. I'm not sure. And I just cried. Like I just cried.
Mm.
And most people don't think of hip hop as evoking tears, right? Um, and so,
You
like a
don't think
song like
that? You don't think most people don't think that? I think
uh,
a lot of people I know think that.
evoking tears as a listener,
Yes.
beautiful.
I
Well,
mean, that's the whole point, right?
that is the point. But it gets a little bit diluted between, what mainstream focuses on.
Mm.
Uh, and so, the
But the
maybe,
heart of it, the heart of hip
yeah,
hop,
the
where did
root
it come from? Where did it come from? Where did hip hop come from?
South Bronx, August 11th, 1973 is considered the birthday, but what's happening in the South Bronx was literally the entire city was being burned to the ground. Like they were
Mm.
four blocks were being burned a week, right? 600,000 people lost their jobs. They put a train. Robert Moses put a train line right through the South Bronx and displaced everyone. Whole story there, but the kids who were the kids of that time, they didn't have mental health counselors coming over to help, right? But they had a pen, they had a paper. They didn't have like easels to draw on, so they painted their names on the train so they could see their names and they felt some self-worth, right? They didn't have like dance halls to go to, but they had cardboard boxes, so they're spinning on their heads, right? Like making people say, "Wow," right? DJs scratching their parents' records. Like this is the four elements of hip hop that began in the South Bronx. And what I'm saying is that all of those things made the music therapeutic at its roots. So you ask about the heart of hip hop, where did it come from? And that's exactly where it came from. And it was therapy for an invisible generation of children. They were invisible and voiceless. And through hip hop, they gained a voice. They gained, they were able to see their names places, and then it went from there. So yeah, hip hop at its roots is very therapeutic. Um,
Hmm. So if people like you I mean, there's a lot of silliness too. Well, there's silliness to everything nowadays, but there's always been silliness. I hate when people say nowadays. I'm like, it's always been like that. Just calm down. But
Right.
so there's a lot of silliness too, but like the people who do want to feel it, and then they have somebody like you that gives them permission, then that's your work. Your work is to say, I give you permission to look past the silliness and feel this.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's kind of like what like a lot of great people in the world are doing today. They're saying, look past the silliness. And when
Yeah.
you said you were crying, my mentor for 34 years, who just died in September, she said, when you're laughing or crying, you're healing.
When you're laughing or
Or
crying.
crying, you're
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah.
And I see people like day one here off of fentanyl, like in the break room, just laughing their asses off. And they say, I haven't laughed like this in 10 years. And I go, keep doing it.
Numb. They've been numb.
Just keep laugh, 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 cry, 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 cry. Do it all, do it all. It's going to heal you.
And yeah, and in when I'm doing some of these sessions and people are we I'll so I do like group sessions at the school, and we end up sharing a quatrain, 4 bars, 4 lines at the end, which have to do with whatever we talked about that day. And a lot of times, like, people they're from all across the world. They're connecting through not only the rap and the rhyme, but they're also connecting because they're like, oh, I thought I was the only one. And
Yeah.
and
Power of sameness.
I thought, and so a lot of tears come out, and they're like, they're like, oh, I should. And I'm like these tears, they're meant to come out because they're back here, and everything has just been like suppressed and blocked for all these years. And like just by releasing them, you're releasing things that need to be released. And so I definitely encourage that, and to
My
see.
friend Sean always says, get the poison out. Get the poison out. Just get the poison out. Get it out. Just write it, say it, cry it, dance it, get it out.
Yeah, and then it's probably going to come back, but you now have a track record of, I got it out, and god damn, I felt better after that.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, hold on. Actually, I did do that one time that Deanna told me to, and I did when Jeff told me to
Hmm.
write a letter to
Hmm.
my mom in rhyme. Like, oh, I
Hmm.
can't believe I actually did it. And so, like, that's gonna, like, especially if it's a wounding, it's gonna reoccur
Hmm. Hmm.
later. But you've done it. You've done it
Hmm.
at least once or twice. You've done it, and
You
so
know you can.
you can.
But
Yeah.
it's great.
And so that's so in the book. So I have a lot of exercises like that in this book, breaking through with bars. We've got Run DMC and KRS-One and Will I Am and all these, people saying rhymecology is great and this and that, and that's all nice. But what it really is just like, these are just short little chapters that get right to the heart of the matter and give you an exercise that may just help you break through something that's been blocking.
Mm.
There's really no book like it. There's books on hip hop therapy, and there's books on some of the clinical stuff, but like a book that actually gives you, like, breaks down a song and then gives you the opportunity to write something similar that might just, crack the code that's, been blocking you. I don't know. I haven't seen anything really like that. So,
That's amazing. You're groundbreaking. You are a revolutionary.
well, it's funny you said that. The first line on the back of the book: embark on a revolutionary ride through the world of hip hop healing, where writing rap verses are a catalyst for personal growth, development, and self discovery.
There you go. There you go. Tell me about the three most influential people in your life and how they impacted you. I think one is probably your
Okay, do I get to
brother.
clap? Do I get to clap if I say something wrong and then it's cut out?
Hmm.
Okay. First of all, I do have a good insult, by the way.
Tell me.
Okay, so I had a beautiful insult. Number of years ago, I don't remember, but probably maybe 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I was working with a lady, I don't think I won't say her name, but she managed Tupac. She's a pretty big in the industry. Um, very healing. You know, she's her work is healing also. But anyway, long story short, I used to go to a lot of these workshops and I would write and perform and I, just, ripping the rhymes, all that stuff. And I just remember like my favorite insult of all time was she goes, God, she goes, you guys, and all these kids around and she goes, you guys, Jeff is just so talented and the only problem is he's just too old and he's just too white for him. And I just sat there and I said, wow, that's deep right there. And then I ended up making like a diss track that was called Too Old, Too White,
I
where I
heard that.
really personified it. I was like, yes, I am. And did all that kind of out of jest, but I'm glad you heard it. So that's probably my favorite insult of all time, because not only it was 10 years later and now I'm better than ever. So that's the funny part about that.
That's awesome. I love and sometimes when people like give me an insult, like it almost inspires me or makes me laugh, or I can't even be mad because it's so funny.
Yeah.
I just so it's I don't know. I just don't get insulted. It just makes me
Okay,
laugh. Now tell me about the three most influential people in your life and how they impacted you and how they impacted your own personal recovery.
I just want to know what's an insult that someone gave you though.
Um, oh, my kids, I don't, my kids are all super white.
Uh-huh.
So when they were little, everyone thought I was their nanny.
Oh,
Because like one, the little one, he's like super blonde and just super fair. And
yeah.
people would say, "Do you like taking care of them?" And I'd go, "It's okay, the pay sucks." And
Yeah,
they were just like,
that's is hilarious.
and then one time I was at Trader Joe's and I had him in the cart, and this lady looks at me and she looks at my son, he's like 3, and she goes, "You have the best mommy's helper." Like, I don't know if she thought I couldn't speak English or I was deaf or both. And I'm in tennis clothes.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
just like,
You're like got your diamond watch and you're in like Lululemon like tennis gear. Do I look like I'm just healthy? Yeah, that's
but
hilarious.
it always made me laugh. Like, I loved it. I just thought it was so funny that like these kids came out of me and I would have expected it. And I
That's
get to be their nanny.
yeah.
And the pay does suck.
Okay, okay, I'm glad. That's a funny one. Okay. Let's see. People who influenced me. Um, I you know and I don't know. Maybe it's cliche, maybe it's not. But my mom is a very okay. So like when you talk to people, they're usually not listening because they're
Hmm.
just preparing the thing they're going to say next.
Hmm.
Or if you say, "Yeah, I went to South Africa last summer and and I got trampled by a herd of zebras," their response is going to be, "Yeah, I went to South Africa, 10 years ago." You're like, what about the zebras? Like, like people are just always like, it's so my mom is like the one person I think I've ever met in my life who literally is sitting there asking real questions, actually caring and actually listening and providing feedback on what you said, empathy, sympathy, inspiration, all of that in a conversation. So I talk to her every day. Uh, and so she's very, 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 very important to me. And so I guess I learned how to listen because you can't sit on a Zoom call or on a phone call for an hour or more without having listening skills and being able to help someone that way. So that's definitely one thing. She married my stepdad who um when we kind of moved in together, I what like I said earlier, like he brought in like a really strong metaphysical piece. And like we would like, and I'm like I said, in high school, I'm doing meditations, and like I was never allowed to say I don't know. If I was sitting at the table, he goes, "What do you think happened there?" And I said, "I don't know." He goes, "Yes, you do." I don't know.
Mm,
Yes, you do. I don't. Yes, you do. Like so he's um, but that was like the age where he brought the Enya to the house, and we were
mm,
listening, and it was like new age music and all like. So it was
mm.
like a little before crystals, crystals all over the house, huge crystal ball, everything. And so, um, for being a successful businessman as he was and is, to be able to provide that balance of, what I mean, work, getting the job done. Like Big Daddy Kane, I get the job done, I work. Sorry, everything's a hip hop reference in my head. And then also being able to like go into the depth of woundings and to the talk about past lives and parallel lives and all that was still a little bit before like it was more easy to talk about. So I think so though that's really a powerful though that's a powerful thing for me. So I think that really helped mold me into who I am, because they were like, go, follow your passion. I don't know what else is life about. They said they listened to an entity channeler called Lazarus,
Mm.
and you know he that entity always said, we're here to have fun and consciously create success, like whatever that means. And so I just kind of like always like gravitated towards that.
Mm.
And the third is Michael Jordan, just because
I
I don't need to explain Michael.
already knew that.
Yeah, 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 Jordan, she knows. So yeah, 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 Michael Jordan, just
23.
for 23, still to this day, still resonates with me so heavily. Um, because he just had the combination of skill, will. His game was ill. Just the way he looked, the way he carried himself, and he was a killer without being physically violent. It's like so. It was like so in sports, and that fueled that side of me. Because when I play basketball, like I was, it was fueled by that energy as well. So I think that's kind of like my three.
Mm. Tell me, what's a question that I didn't ask that you wished I would have?
Um, a question that you okay. Um, I don't know. I don't think I have one for that. A question that I wish you would have asked could be, no, I don't know, something too personal. So,
What's a no-brainer piece of information that you wish that more people, like in the mental health and recovery and wellness, that they knew? That, like, just like people have said things like walk around the block, get some vitamin D, eat better, just eat a little better. And I
yeah,
just like just one no-brainer that Jay
I,
Walker could give to the world.
for me, it's alliteration. It's I just think that past pain pursues poison.
Mm.
Past pain pursues poison. And I think if you can remember that, then not only that it's poison that you're drinking or eating, or injecting or smoking, but also poison that is disease in your body, right? So I think that past pain, unless it's really kind of like dealt with responsibly, it will always be pursuing some kind of poison because it's so powerful. Another P.
Sean Aker says the absence of disease is not health.
The absence of disease is not health. Mm.
So, like in my world, people can quit drinking and then become compulsive shoppers or sex addicts or gamblers or smokers or whatever. Like the absence of disease is not health. Like they just kind of do that leaky hose and move
Mm,
it around.
mm.
So, like, I always say, like, what's emotional sobriety? The people
Mm,
that I know that have emotional sobriety. That's what I look for in my life. People with emotional sobriety.
emotional sobriety. Love that term. I have to put that in a rhyme.
Do it.
Emotional sobriety. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I may write a little poem for New Wellness. Be ready.
You did. You
Oh,
wrote one in
yeah.
my book.
That, that was a mini. That was a mini. That was a
Yeah, new method wellness. It's Dr. D stating the obvious. Write something about that. Let me know. I have a client. Well, I'm not going to say. Okay, but somebody who was a guest on my thing, and he was like a pretty up there country star. He
hmm
he wrote some songs and stuff. I'm waiting. He's supposed to write me a jingle for this podcast, but I don't know what he's doing. I'm going to call him and rag on him.
Well, all right. Well, is he doing a charity for free?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why. Because it's like, oh,
yeah,
I'll get to it when I get.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, people you only do things if they pay. But
yeah,
so
yeah.
but that might be kind of dope because you might have a country thing, and then maybe you'll have like a little, a
Rap thing.
spoken word, little like something.
Yeah, yeah.
But so what I'll have you do, you send me a few notes, like Dr. D, emotion. I'm already writing it down. Emotional sobriety, right? So like a few like little taglines like that, and I'll weave them into something for you.
Like when you're laughing or crying, you're healing. Some of the things that have inspired my life. I think the biggest thing that's inspired, one of the biggest things that's inspired my life is, and I think you'll like this, Jeff. Um, in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says nothing so as problem drinkers, our very lives depend on constant thought of others. So, it also says nothing ensures sobriety like uh, helping another person. So, like, I'm
Mm.
I've been sober for a really long time, and I'm not as worried
Oh,
about relapsing as 35 years. I'm not as afraid of. I am afraid of relapsing, but I'm more afraid of being nutty. Like, and what I consider nutty is super self-centered.
mhm.
Like all that, I'm not much, but I'm all I think about. So, um,
So you getting like two for one because not only you're keeping yourself from becoming self-centered, it's also keeping you sober. It's like a
exactly.
double
So
shot.
when I feel like the worst, nuttiest, like just in my head and everything's bad, and I can imagine some of your patients or clients have expressed this feeling, I just call a newcomer, like somebody who's brand new in sobriety, and I go, "Tell me about your life." And they're
Just listen.
like, and they'll say, "Oh my God, that time you called me, it was so helpful." I'm like, "It wasn't for you."
It was
I'm glad you, and I'm glad it helped you, but I was like nutty in, down that crazy rabbit hole that we can all go down as humans. And all I did was pick up the phone. I mean, it's cheaper than a therapist. It's cheaper. It's better than taking pills. I just picked up the phone and I said, "Hey, how's your day going?"
Mm,
And I just listened, like you said, like your mom. I just sat and really listened for 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. And I got to be sober and stay sane.
yeah. Yeah. What a lane, like what a great outlet for you. What a great outlet to know that you have that to fall on if things start to build up. You're like, okay, I'm gonna call so and
Listeners,
so.
where they can find you online.
Okay, so even though I was speaking earlier about some forces that are a little bit too cutting down on some of my free speech, I will say that I really do everything through pretty much Instagram, and it's at Rhymecology, right?
Okay.
At Rhymecology. If you look at YouTube, you'll see a lot of Rhymecology stuff. I've got a website, rhymecology.com. And you just throw in your search, whether it's Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever you use, throw in Rhymecology. But my daily kind of stuff, I just pretty much do Instagram, at Rhymecology. And there, even if you look on like Apple Music or Spotify, if you put in Rhymecology, which
Hmm.
is rhyme and then Cology, Cology, Rhymecology. The music's there everywhere you look. So if you want the music, it's there. If you want to look for books, it's on Amazon Rhymecology. If you want to see videos of performances, blah blah blah, that's going to be on YouTube. So whatever you kind of like your passion is, you can find it just by searching Rhymecology. But the new book, which is the I'd say probably the best one. You'll have to tell me after you read it, but that is on Amazon as well. Pretty easy, one click away.
Okay, we're going to put a link to your website when we post the interview, and then Anna, our producer, will send it to you, and you can post it on all of your stuff,
Sure, sure,
like the YouTube
100%.
link. Who do you think we should interview next?
Um, in the for well, you could interview Jilly Moon if you
Oh,
want,
would she do it?
probably. Um, I'd say her journey is very empowering. Um, yeah, her journey is very empowering from where she was to where she's at, um, and some of the things she's had to overcome.
I would
Uh,
love to interview her. Like I said, that's one of my favorite all-time albums.
well, that's an easy answer. Then I think that's probably the best answer that I could think of right now.
So for your final question, what is one question that you wished I'd asked you? What is one
Uh,
question that you wished I'd asked that I didn't?
uh, I wish that you had asked me to have a monthly phone call with you, as
Hmm.
you need to get out of your head sometimes.
I
And so I
love
wish I could
that.
have been that person
Absolutely.
just to listen to you.
Yeah, I would love
That's
that.
my that's their that's my
Just check in
that's
and
my wish
say,
because the yeah
you could be keeping me
some
sober, Jeff
we all
Walker. You could be keeping me
I,
sober.
I do what I can. I'll do what I can because to be honest, the questions they were great, and I didn't feel like I was lacking any. There was no question I was really lacking, but I'm like, it's such a good connection, and sometimes even the healer needs someone just to listen to them. So that for some reason that's what popped in my head.
I love that. And I will definitely take you up on that. I'll check on you. And on my worst, darkest days, I'll be like, just tell me some JT. Just
There
tell
you go.
me some JT so that I can like get out of my head and stay sober for the rest of the day.
There you go. And um, I'll be there on the phone call, and then I'll also maybe I'll create you a little song that maybe can also help you through a dark day.
I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this interview. I didn't know what to expect, but it was better than anything I could have expected.
Well, you gotta when people come knocking, sometimes you open the door and you never know what you're gonna
Stating the obvious with New Method Wellness.